Hi everybody, thanks so much for tuning in today. Today I want to talk about something that's really important to me. If I were to define my practice or what I promote in one phrase or sentence, I guess, this is what it would be. Are you ready? Eat like your kids live here. So you might have seen the signs around town through residential areas that say drive like your kids live here. And so that really just struck a chord with me, and I was inspired. And while driving, which is maybe not the best time to get inspired, because I was a little distracted, but that thought just sort of overwhelmed me, and I thought, yes, this is what when I'm talking with clients, this is what I want them to take away from it. So eat like your kids live here. We live in a time when there are endless influencers promoting their diet of the month. It makes it really hard to figure out what the best way to eat is. Everyone has different philosophies. There's high fat, low fat, high carb, no carb, so many different things. But what they all have in common is that they are just basically fads. Next month it'll be something totally different. So I think something that can be really a constant for someone trying to eat healthy is just eat like your kids live here. Basic, simple. So what does that mean? Here are 5 basic principles of what I promote in my practice. Number 1 is no fad diets. So that's absolutely right. No, I can't eat that, or I have to eat this. No cooking 2 meals for dinner, one for you and one for your kids. Fad diets create distrust towards food and for your body. That is not kid appropriate. That is not something that we want our children to be fearful of. We don't want them to be afraid of food. We want them to enjoy food and take it for what it is. Food, something nourishing, something that tastes good, hopefully. Fad diets also can be really isolating. So like I mentioned, like the cooking 2 meals, there is one fad diet meal delivery service. And in all the commercials, it shows the person eating by themselves. And like, if you're a single person, without time to cook, then maybe that's theoretically okay. But so what is the rest of your family going to be eating? What happens when you're out to dinner or out to lunch with coworkers? What happens then? So fad diets in my book are just a no-go, sort of waste of time. So my second principle that I stand by is a variety of foods. So unlike fad diets, I help people to consume a variety of foods, and really the more types of food a person eats, the happier I am. I don't want to limit food groups. I don't want to limit specific foods. So as many different foods as possible. We work on getting at least 3 food groups per meal, and that ensures a wide assortment of both vitamins and minerals, which help your body feel nourished, and then also a wide variety of macronutrients, so carbs, proteins, and fats, and that can help your body feel nourished as well. The third principle that I try to encourage in my practice is no good or bad foods. This type of thinking is not setting kids up for a good relationship with food. If kids aren't exposed to both nourishing and maybe less nourishing, less healthful foods, they won't know how to interact with those foods when they're older and making food choices on their own. Foods have no moral compass. A child isn't good for wanting broccoli, and they're not bad because they want a brownie. We need to work towards kids and ourselves feeling neutral about foods. And by the way, making certain foods off limits can actually increase desire for those foods in both kids and in ourselves. So something we want to all probably work on with that. The fourth principle, something that I try to encourage with my clients, is to have a mix of foods in the house. So a kid-friendly house will have certainly lots of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, yogurt, milk, or soy milk, or whatever your preference is. But it will likely and should also contain fun foods, whether it's popcorn, cookies, chips, crackers, brownies, whatever it might be. So sort of playing off principle number 3 with no good or bad foods, kids need to learn how to interact with these more fun, maybe less nutritious choices. As a child, I remember going to a friend's house and they had a candy dish in the entryway. And every time I passed it, I could not help it. It was like my hand had a mind of its own. I had to take a piece of candy. But my friend who lived there and was around that all the time, it was like she didn't even see it. She didn't even notice this dish of candy was there. So I think that really that way of thinking about it sort of just makes it such a deep impact. If we're around different foods all the time, then it's when we get a chance to eat them, it's not like such a big deal. We don't feel like we have to eat all of it if we're not hungry, or if we get a few bites in and realize it doesn't taste good. When we're, severely limiting our foods, so say a brownie, for example, if that's something you never allow your children to eat, then when they finally get the chance, then they're gonna probably want more than one, and then that can cause sort of like almost a little mini binge or a food spree. So by incorporating little bits of fun foods every day, we can sort of take that power away from foods and just make it part of a normal, healthy diet. And then a final pillar that I really like to promote with my clients is respecting hunger and fullness cues. So it's really interesting to me how as adults we really lose touch with that a lot of the time. If you think to an infant or a toddler, when they're hungry, because they will tell you. They will let you know, and no one will sleep and no one will do anything until this hunger is remedied. So, when they're hungry, they're getting cranky and anxious. They need to eat now. When they're full, if you're at a toddler where my son is, who's 1 year old, they're throwing any leftover food on the floor. So, they're done with it. They have reached their fullness. They're satisfied. So while I don't encourage adults to throw food on the floor, I do encourage them to check in with their hunger signals, hunger and fullness, really, before, during, and after meals. It takes practice sometimes, but it lets them know that they're eating the right amount for their body so much better than any sort of calorie count will. If you're not sure where to start, or if this seems like sort of a new concept, a place to start might be just planning on eating something every 4 hours or so. So if you have breakfast at 7, maybe if you don't have a snack between breakfast and lunch, maybe try moving lunch up a little bit to 11 o'clock, and then just sort of check in, at 11 o'clock, how am I feeling? Is my stomach grumbling? What emotions am I feeling? How is my hunger? How is my fullness? Can I feel it? Can I tell? It takes practice, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so then after 11 o'clock lunch, then maybe a snack around 3. And again, just sort of check in, see how your body's feeling. Are you hungry? Are you full? Are you eating something that's satisfying you? So anyway, this pattern of eating every 4 hours, it might not be perfect, but it's a starting place, and it will help your body get used to being consistently nourished, which as adults, we tend to skip meals, or we're running around so busy, and we're usually the last priority on our to-do list. But by nourishing your body in a consistent manner, it can really help your body to trust yourself again, and feel like it can more readily relay what it needs. It knows that you will respond to its cues. So you might have seen my post from earlier this week when I had to fast for some blood work, and I am a huge breakfast person. Like, do not mess with me if I have not had breakfast, and I had to fast that morning. So I'm getting the kids ready for school and dropping them off, and then going to get the blood work done. And, not only was I feeling, crummy and worn down, but the phlebotomist noticed. I'm sure I was, not that pleasant, of course, not intentionally trying to be, rude or moody or anything, but my body is telling me, hey, look, lady, we're used to eating breakfast. You did not give us anything, so what's the deal? The more that you respond to your body's cues, the more forceful the signals will be, because it knows that something will get taken care of. And certainly as soon as I got to work, I had my breakfast, as usual, just a little bit later. Okay, so thanks for listening. These are just a few topics that I discuss with my clients. And just something to sort of take home: by incorporating a mix of foods and respecting your body's hunger and fullness cues, you can really start to cultivate that healthy relationship with food for yourself and for your kids. If you're interested in more information, feel free to message me on here, or you can email me always, kellyhoustonrdn@gmail.com, or check out my website, rdnmama.com. So thanks a lot, guys.